And a bit of a breaking news coming in. Let's cut across to Mike Pompeo.
And his North Korean, and her North Korean delegation. The talks continue this afternoon, even as we sit here now. They're in fact moving quite rapidly, and we anticipate they will come to their logical conclusion even more quickly than we had anticipated. Before discussing the summit, I want to address a report in the New York Times that suggested that the U.S. team lacks the technical expertise on dismantling North Korea's weapons program as part of these talks. I want to address that report directly. For over 3 months, an interagency working group of over 100 experts across government has met multiple times per week to address technical and logistical issues associated with dismantling North Korea's weapons programs. They include experts from the military charged with dismantling nuclear weapons, the Department of Energy, including PhDs and experts from DOE labs, and officials from the intelligence community covering North Korea. Those same experts also cover North Korea's nuclear, chemical, biological, and missile programs. These experts include dozens of PhDs who have expertise in nuclear weapons, the fuel cycle, missiles, chemical and biological weapons. They have advanced degrees in nuclear engineering, physics, chemistry, aerospace, biology, and other relevant fields. On the ground in Singapore, we have a team that includes the President's senior-most expert in weapons of mass destruction, who can cover any technical needs that the meetings may present. Any suggestion that the United States somehow lacks the technical expertise across government or lacks it on the ground here in Singapore is mistaken. North Korea has previously confirmed to us its willingness to denuclearize, and we are eager to see if those words prove sincere. The fact that our two leaders are sitting down face to face is a sign of the enormous potential to accomplish something that will immensely benefit both of our peoples and the entire world. President Trump believes that Kim Jong-un has an unprecedented opportunity to change the trajectory of our relationship and bring peace and prosperity to his country. We are hopeful this summit will have set the conditions for future productive talks. In light of how many flimsy agreements the United States has made in previous years, this President will ensure that no potential agreement will fail to adequately address the North Korean threat. The ultimate objective we seek from diplomacy with North Korea has not changed. The complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization of the Korea Peninsula is the only outcome that the United States will accept. Sanctions will remain until North Korea completely and verifiably eliminates its weapons of mass destruction programs. If diplomacy does not move in the right direction, and we are hopeful that it will continue to do so, those measures will increase. President Trump recognizes Chairman Kim's desire for security and is prepared to ensure that a North Korea free of weapons of mass destruction is also a secure North Korea. The President has also expressed his openness to expanding access to foreign investment and other economic opportunities for North Korea if they take the right steps. All the preparations for the summit have come together very nicely. The President met this afternoon with Minister Lee of Singapore. It was an important opportunity to thank the Prime Minister of Singapore for his partnership in helping make this summit a reality. Singapore is home to over 4,000 American companies and is a long-standing commercial partner, and we thank them for their help in making this summit what it is. The President also had a chance to visit with our embassy team here in Singapore and thank them for their tireless work to make this summit a success. For example, at tomorrow's summit, there will be some 5,000 members of the media from all over the world that will be covering this historic event. President Trump is going into this meeting with confidence, a positive attitude, and eagerness for real progress. He has made it clear that if Kim Jong-un denuclearizes, there is a brighter future for North Korea. Tomorrow, we will get our clearest indication to date of whether Chairman Kim Jong-un truly shares this vision. I'm happy to take a couple questions.
Comprehensive, verifiable, irreversible denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula. And I wonder whether that represents a slight shift in what your position had been, because traditionally we talk just about CDIP, and now you're actually adding a phrase on the Korean Peninsula, which reflects in part what the North Koreans see, which is to denuclearize the peninsula. Is that a shift in your position?
There's no shift in the policy. It is the case that we are prepared to make security assurances necessary for the North Koreans to engage in that denuclearization. That is, we're prepared to take actions that will provide them sufficient certainty that they can be comfortable that denuclearization isn't something that ends badly for them. Indeed, just the opposite, that it leads to a brighter, better future for the North Korean people.
Major Garrett, CBS.
Following up on that point, Mr. Secretary, under the umbrella of security assurances, would that include removing U.S. forces now in South Korea? Is that something you're prepared to discuss with the North Koreans directly?
I'm not going to get into any of the details of the discussions that we've had to date. I can only say this. We're prepared to take what will be security assurances that are different, unique, than have been provided, that America has been willing to provide previously. We think this is both necessary and appropriate.
Would it be erroneous to assume that that's not on the table?
You shouldn't assume from the fact that I don't give any detail here today that some question you posited has any merit.
But you know the sensitivity of
Yeah,
that.
you should just, if you hypothesize something that's in it and I refuse to tell you what's in it, you should assume that I'm simply refusing to tell you what's in it and not drawing any conclusions from the negative inference that I think you're suggesting. You should know there's going to be a lot of work left to do. There's a lot of detail that's got to be provided. We are not going to conduct these negotiations in the open with the media. We're going to conduct them between the two parties so that we have an opportunity to have a real success here.
Mr. Secretary, it's clear what the U.S. expects from the North in terms of denuclearization, but sometimes there's been a suggestion from North Korean officials that their concept of denuclearization might preclude the deployment of dual-capable aircraft on the Korean Peninsula, or the WION, or aircraft carriers, U.S. aircraft carriers here to the Korean Peninsula. Is this something that the Trump administration would be willing to discuss, or is it something you can go aloud? And do you hope to have a framework tomorrow that does more than just repeat the formulation you maybe 12 or 13 years ago about denuclearization, but commit each side to taking specific steps?
So I think the first part of your question is the same question Major Garrett asked. It was a substantive question about what one side or the other may be prepared to do, and I'm simply not going to speak to that. With respect to the second question, the context for these discussions is radically different than ever before. The backdrop against which these negotiations are taking, President Trump has set in a way that is fundamentally different than before. President's made very clear, until such time as we get the outcome that we're demanding, economic relief is not going to be provided. That's different. There was always this hypothesis that somewhere along the way the Americans would take their foot off and allow those economic opportunities for the North and thereby reduce the capacity to actually achieve the deal. We're not going to do that. So these discussions that will take place tomorrow between Chairman Kim and President Trump will set the framework for the hard work that will follow. And we'll see how far we get. But I'm very optimistic that we will have a successful outcome from tomorrow's meeting between these two leaders. It's the case. In each of those two countries, there are only two people that can make decisions of this magnitude, and those two people are going to be sitting in a room together tomorrow.
Catherine Lucy with the AP.
Secretary, the president says he'll know within a minute whether Kim is serious based on his feel. These are obviously incredibly complex nuclear issues that have tens of millions of civilians in the crosshairs. Is it wise for the president to be going on his gut? And have you established any specific criteria for the conditions that will lead him to walk out tomorrow?
The president is fully prepared for the meeting tomorrow. I have personally had the opportunity to make sure that he's had a chance to hear lots of different voices, all of the attendant opportunities and risks, and that we have put these two leaders in the right place. As I said in answer to the previous question, President Trump has truly laid out a process here that is fundamentally different than the ones that we've gone through before, and I expect that the process from tomorrow forward will also be fundamentally different with a resolved America working to try and provide an outcome that benefits both countries. That's different than what we've done before.
Can you tell us anything about preparation, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Secretary Pompeo. Last time that you took questions from us in the White House press briefing room, and I had an opportunity at that time to ask you a question. The question I asked you was whether or not, or how do you trust the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un? And that wasn't necessarily satisfied with your answer. You can answer this time, but I also want to flip the question, if I may, Mr. Secretary. How can Kim Jong-un trust the United States? And I say that over what happened at the G7 summit, when many leaders of the G7 believe that the leadership of the United States cannot be trusted as it relates to what happened with the communique. So perhaps you can answer both of those questions. Thank you.
I'll take your second one first. I think the hypothesis is ludicrous. The United States has been fooled before. There's no doubt about it. Many presidents previously have signed off on pieces of paper only to find that the North Koreans either didn't promise what we thought they had or actually reneged on their promises. The V matters. The V matters. We are going to ensure that we set up a system sufficiently robust that we're able to verify these outcomes, and it's only once the V happens that we'll proceed apace. Right? That's what's been missed before. We can go back to Reagan, trust but verify. At the end of the day, both countries are going to have sufficient trust in each other and to do the verification that each country needs, that we've provided the things that are called for, that we commit to in the various documents that we sign, both tomorrow if we sign a document and if we sign subsequent documents, but we'll each have to ensure that we do the things, we take the actions necessary to follow through on those commitments. And when we do, we'll have a verified deal. And if we can get that far, we will have had a historic change here in Southeast Asia, North Asia, and all around the world.
We'll take one last question. Bill Rucker, Washington Post.
Mr. Secretary, this morning at his hotel in Singapore, President Trump had harsh words for Prime Minister Trudeau. And what are you doing as the country's top diplomat to repair relationships with our country's oldest allies, closest allies in Europe? And do you agree with the statement made by one of your administration's colleagues yesterday that there's a special place in hell for the Canadian Prime Minister?
Well, I came here today, here in Singapore, to talk about North Korea, but I'm happy to talk about work with our European partners as well. We wouldn't be in this place. We wouldn't have this historic opportunity without the diplomatic work that's been done by our European partners alongside of us. President Trump has led an enormous coalition, including those very same European partners, those G7 partners to which you refer, who have helped us get to this point. I have every expectation that they will continue to do that. There are always irritants in relationships. I am very confident that relationships between our countries, the United States and those G7 countries, will continue to move forward on a strong basis. I'm unconcerned about our capacity to continue to do what we need to do to get the outcome we're looking for in North Korea as a result of what you described having taken place in Canada.
Do you agree with that statement?
Thanks, sir.
Sir?
Thank you.
So Mike Pompeo is saying that the time has to be given and one thing has to be understood, that a lot has gone into building of this summit. And Pompeo says that a lot of work needs to be done. And he also made it a point to say that let's not be negative about this summit, that a lot of positive things can come out of it. So Mike Pompeo briefing the press. The summit is going to take place tomorrow, a very important day. It's the first time that such a meeting is taking place. This is the third time Kim has left his own country to go to a foreign nation. Singapore is going to bear the cost of the summit, somewhere around $18 million. And I'm joined by my colleague Ramesh Ramachandran from phone line from Singapore. Ramesh, a pretty decent and a detailed briefing by Mike Pompeo.
Indeed, and this comes on the eve of the Trump-Kim summit, with Mike Pompeo in particular exuding optimism that things could go well if the two principals, Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, hit it off tomorrow when they meet for the first time ever between a sitting American president and a North Korean leader. But that said, Mike Pompeo also indicated that differences or divergences persist on some issues, including on the issue of how to get to the issue of denuclearization. So as we speak, negotiations are taking place, last minute at that, before the much anticipated summit meeting between the two leaders, Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, on Tuesday morning here in Singapore.
Just describe us the the way the whole Singapore is being organized for the summit. Is it correct, Ramesh, that 3,000 journalists from across the world have descended on Singapore to attend this one single day event?
Indeed, that's right. 3,000 plus journalists have converged upon Singapore in the last few days, covering every minute detail of the Trump-Kim summit. But that said, Karthikeya, a point to be noted here is also that the meeting is scheduled for 9 a.m. local time in Singapore, which is actually translates into prime time television viewing back in the U.S. So Trump seems to have these optics in mind in choosing the time for the summit meeting. Remember, this is his initiative. This is Trump's initiative, as opposed to the other pact agreements which Obama signed and which Trump has pulled America out of, the Paris Climate Change Accord or Iran deal. So this is being seen as and a lot rides on whether Trump can pull it off when he meets with Kim Jong-un on Tuesday here in Singapore.
And Ramesh, how long is this meeting going to last? Okay, can you please tell us about, is it a day-long event or is it a hour-long event? You know, what's the itinerary? Are they going to be together for the whole day?
Well, the much anticipated handshake between the two leaders, Karthikeya, will happen at 9 a.m. sharp Singapore time, followed by, they've kept aside 2 hours for the summit meeting. The program, as shared by American diplomatic sources, is that the two leaders will have a one-on-one meeting first, along with their respective translators or interpreters, and followed by a more extended discussion between the two leaders and their respective delegations. Given that fact that this will be a very short visit, we're given to understand that Kim Jong-un of North Korea is scheduled to leave Singapore back for Pyongyang by about 2 p.m. local time. So that gives the two leaders 4 or 5 hours between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. local time to thrash out issues and issue a statement, if at all, between the two leaders, between the two delegations. That's the tentative program as of now. But given the fact that these are two unpredictable politicians, Karthikeya, anything can happen. It could be a complete success or not. So a lot rides on how quickly these two leaders can establish a working relationship going forward, so that contentious issues can be resolved peacefully and cordially in the months ahead.
And lastly, apart from the fact that, it's all about the nuclear deal, any other agenda apart from the denuclearization?
Well, denuclearization is the key item on the agenda of the talks, Karthikeya. But that said, one issue also is that North Korea and the U.S. do not have diplomatic ties as of now. So one low-hanging fruit from the discussions could be that both sides agree to establish a normal diplomatic ties between the U.S. and North Korea. Remember, they have not had ties for the last 70-odd years, 7 decades, and counting. So one outcome could be that both leaders agree in principle to end the hostilities, put an end to the war. Remember, there's no peace treaty yet in place, only a ceasefire agreement, which was signed in 1953. So both sides, when they meet on Tuesday morning in Singapore, could agree in principle to establish a more normal relationship, normal bilateral ties, and that could mean setting up embassies and diplomatic missions in each other's capitals. That means Pyongyang and Washington.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you for joining us. So tomorrow is a big day, and our Associate Editor Ramesh Ramachandran will be reporting the summit from Singapore, and we'll be live with the summit tomorrow from 6:30 a.m.